Hey guys, welcome to Peripheral Vision, and today we're taking a look at the Handy Boy for the Nintendo Game Boy from Joy Plus. Now, what is the Handy Boy? Let's take a look. That's a good question. What is the Handy Boy? Well, according to the packaging, it is a multi-function enhancement for the Game Boy. Now, what that means is the original Game Boy, the brick, is sort of a limited machine in what it can do. The speaker isn't so great, the screen's a little small, there's no backlighting, and it's a system that was sold largely on its software and not its hardware, because the original model had a lot of flaws. But the gaming industry, as it will, came and rose to the occasion and just stuck a bunch of stuff onto it. Now, you've probably seen pieces of this in random gaming bins all over the place, and you've probably seen a bunch of other things that will clip onto your Game Boy that will magnify the screen, or light it up, or do something like that, and that's because other third-party companies decided that they were going to try to fix the issues with the original Game Boy, because it was such a popular piece of hardware that it was worth adding these extra peripherals onto it to try to enhance the experience. And let's go ahead and take a closer look at the box. And let's see, it says no extra battery required. That means all of these add-ons that connect to the Game Boy use the same power source. Light in weight. That's, well, we'll see if that stands true when we put it together. And easy to carry. Again, we'll see if that stands true when we put this thing together. And on the sides, we have the features, and we're actually going to take a look at these in person, so we don't have to worry about that. And then in other languages, characteristics, Merkmal, and Kenmerken. And what's cool, what I've noticed in earlier peripherals is that if there's multi-language descriptions all over the box, usually it's something that was created to be shipped all over the world. And sometimes it's cheap quality, usually it's from China. I'm willing to guess this is made in China, but I'm not sure for a fact. And take a look at the back. There is all the stuff that comes with it, which is cool. That's definitely useful because, like I said, you've probably noticed pieces of this Handy Boy thing in random game bins, but never a complete look at one. So this is what it actually looks like when it's completed, and the picture doesn't really do it justice. Just wait until we get it together in real life, and it shows you how to assemble it. All the instructions are on the back right here, so that's good, because usually they have a paper instruction, and those go missing or get thrown away. But then again, considering most people threw these boxes away, I wouldn't be surprised if most people never really learned. But it's actually pretty simple. Now, let's open it up and see it up close. Alright. Here we have is actually a little piece of paper going over other accessories that you might be interested in picking up, also from Joy Plus. They have stuff for the Game Gear, other enhancing devices for the Game Boy. At the time this was released, the Game Gear and the Game Boy were the dominant forces. I guess they might have had something for the Atari Lynx, but nobody really had the Atari Lynx. So that's the piece of paper that came with it. And what I was really happy to find was that the pieces actually came in their original little baggies. So I was really happy that this was as complete as it is. So let's take things out. First off, we've got this front piece that attaches to the D-pad and buttons portion of the actual Game Boy. There's this, which is kind of confusing when you first look at it, but I will show you where this goes in a second. And we have the bulk of the peripheral, and that is the screen and the speakers portion of it. Alright. Get these out of the way. And let's put it on to an original Game Boy, just so you know, it is fully loaded, and this one does work perfectly fine. That super slow Nintendo scroll. And of course I'm going to be using Tetris as my test game because the Game Boy original came bundled with Tetris, and I think it's a very important game in the system's history. So the first thing you have to put on with the Handy Boy is the main part. So I usually keep this section closed. You can fold it up. And what's cool about this is that it has a strap that you can hang it over your shoulder or you can hold it by, because they knew the original Game Boy itself, not really a portable, well, it's a portable in a technical sense console. This doesn't fit in your pocket. You have to put this in a purse or inside of a hoodie or something like that. It doesn't really fit into a pocket. But they knew once you attach this big mamba jamba onto it, there was no way. You would need a strap. So that was good forward thinking on their part. And you slide it onto your Game Boy. Now you can put it in bottom up, but it has a little bit tighter of a squeeze, so I would suggest taking the bottom and sliding it in like so. And just make sure to line it up until you get to the point where it's matching the screen. And it should create like a flat, you should be able to slide your finger across it and without any major bumps. So that part's on. The next thing that you need to do is take this guy, and you have to take the battery pack off, and you have to remove the first and fourth batteries in it. Now this is the part that is a little trickier to pull off, but it's not insanely complicated. You take this, plug it into the top, and let me grab my batteries. You put these in here, and you have to slide the batteries in. So that is the minus side. There we go. And you just have to make sure that the tip of this is sandwiched between the end of the battery and the actual Game Boy. So should fit pretty snugly in there. And then the same with the other one. Now these will come loose. This is sort of an issue. If you just make sure that they're in there, and then you can put the battery pack right back in. And there we go. Now, just to test it real quick, I'm going to test the... Okay, so it is connected right now. So in order to test to see if the battery connection is working, just test it. Even if the Game Boy isn't on, it will click on the features, so you can test it out that way. Alright, and finally, first we put this in here, and we can click on this part. And you see there's a little slot in here, and you can slide this right in there. It fits very well. And there we go. This is what the Handy Boy looks like in full form. Like, this is... I think it's funny that it was technically called a multi-function enhancement for the Game Boy, but it looks like it's halfway to transforming into Optimus Prime. This thing is just massive and ridiculous, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, let's actually look at the functionality of this thing. So, as you notice, there's speakers, there's magnifying glass, there are lights inside of here, and there are these things. Let's start off with the actual controller things. They feel fine. They feel better than I would have expected. Nothing really. One thing is that this is a major obstruction. This will consistently feel like it's in the way, and it'll bug you, especially if you're weird like I am. But if you pull it behind, it's usually not so bad. You can usually get through without any major issue. The speakers, on the right side, you'll see that they have the option of turning them on or off, and on, off. Same with the lights. On or off. Now the lights are because the Game Boy original did not come with a backlight, so if you're playing in a dark area or if you need some extra light, it'll work like that. And the sound is because there is a single mono speaker in the Game Boy, and this turns it into stereo, although that doesn't really change it that much. It also makes it louder, so there's that. And then there's the magnifier, which can be adjusted. You can flip it all the way up if you would like to, and you can have various degrees of magnification. Usually it should be around here so that it's far enough away from the screen to actually magnify the image. So now that we've got it hooked up, let's turn the game on and see how it works. Alright. Now we're having a little issue with contrast here. There we go. There we go. And you can barely see it because with the light and the 2 layers of glass and everything, it's sort of tricky to see. But it is up. See if we can get a little darker just to show you guys. You should be able to see at least the outlines of Tetris. Now, the speakers, let's turn them on, see how they're going. This is what it sounds like with the speakers. Now, if I take that out, that's what it sounds like without the speakers. So there is a notable improvement here. Now let's check out the light. Okay, so the light definitely does help because the low light in here, and you can actually see it a lot better. Click start. And there's the classic Tetris music. Now the magnification, so look closer. This is what it looks like magnified. And I can tilt it up. Looks a little bit smaller. Magnifiers for the Game Boy, any of the Game Boys, have always been sort of lackluster in my opinion. But we'll go ahead and start. The controller feels pretty responsive. Or the joystick addition to the controller feels pretty responsive. And here we go. So the speakers work pretty well. The magnifier is, like all magnifiers, somewhat ineffective. The lights work pretty well. Let's turn off the actual light here. It won't be completely dark, but we'll see what it looks like with just a simple light. Okay. So that's that. Turn that off, and turn the 2 extra things off. And so the light is moderately effective, and that's pretty much everything there is to the Handy Boy. Now, I think the problem with this should be pretty obvious. Even though it's moderately effective, it's gigantic. And I feel, in fact I'm certain, that if you were to use the strap add-on to this, then a lot of these pieces might actually fall off. They're on pretty tightly, but I feel like just traveling around in it, it wouldn't work very well. Now you can with some effort close that in, and then close this part, and it's a little bit better. Alright. But yeah, it's just too big. It's too much going on at once. For back then, I'm sure it was a interesting novelty and it worked fairly well, but for now there's absolutely no reason to have this. Unless you're a collector of strange peripherals like I am, I would definitely pass up the Handy Boy. But if you like the weird and odd and strange, pick it up. Later days.